What's up? What's up? All right, we are back, folks. 4 day weekend here at the shack with only 17 days remaining until I get 7 day weekends. Looking forward to that. Uh, Steve's not happy about it.
Oh
I know
no,
you
very happy for
can
you.
see the
Very happy
joy
for
in his
you.
eyes when I mention it.
So happy for you. Yes, it's great, wonderful.
But hey, maybe I can get caught up though, because I've made some pretty good progress this week. Now I've been out here from the time I woke up till the time went to bed, but I've made some pretty good progress in the past 4 days. Like I've been cranking out some stuff,
Can I
getting caught up. Things are getting done on my website that hadn't been done in a year. I mean, it's looking better.
can I get you one of those like the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible masks and maybe a pair of stilts, and then you can help me get caught up?
Sure, maybe. You never know. But yeah, Robbie. Yeah, it was too cold up there at Steve's shop. I had to come back to mine. Brian, I don't even get Sundays off, and that's part of the reason why I'll be so thankful when I can retire. Even though my wife keeps telling people I'm not retiring, I'm just like swapping two jobs to one. Because this is a full time job. Doing what I do out here is definitely a full time job. I throw in, trying to have some family time and band, like dragging these kids from the school, their equipment all over the state of Alabama for the band stuff. It's been very busy, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. The good thing is I don't have to deal with, we're going to call them the public as much, and I can just kind of stay here at the house. So I'm looking forward to it. So what have you been up to, Steve, other than wrangling your spiders up there? I saw you stole Earl, one of my
Yeah.
one of my spiders from the shop.
Yeah, he gave me a little bit of a jump scare. I was moving some things off my workbench down in the basement shop and put some things away, turn around, I'm like, ooh, hello. So we escorted him outside to a nice flower bed area with some bugs he can hunt, and sent him on his merry way hopefully back to Alabama. But no, I finally got, you can kind of see the corner of it over here. Finally got the kind of initial overview of the Atomstack Glacier done. Posted that the other day. And so if you're curious to see how things are going for me with that, definitely check that video out. A lot of test cuts on various materials. I tried to take some of the feedback from people that were commenting on yours or in some of the other groups, and tried to answer some of those comparative questions. I dove into kerf a little bit, compared it to the A70 a little bit as far as module size and spot size, things like that. Did some cutting on some materials and such. So check that out. Kind of like you, it would be nice if it was just a little shallower. Long term, it's going to be tough because it's got to go into an enclosure, and if you're using the full bed, you almost have to be able to kind of walk around at least two sides of it to really reach things. So, the typical kind of up against the wall, possibly with things on either side, might be a little tight, but we'll see. I'd love to see some other form factors come out for that as well. You and I both love the kind of the wider X40 format we got going on, but working on that. A few other things behind the scenes that will hopefully get done too, but also wanted to break it up with a little bit more of a project video. And I'm still just compiling the footage and need to finish it, but got the project done. I was going to do something seasonal, play around with some true flat plywood, and also wanted to try out the new Xtool Studio software and see, was it greatly changed or whatnot. And so went ahead and did a layered project here using true flat and then also some acrylic markers and such. So figured it was nice and seasonal. And so I'll have the video out on that, on the actual design, and then a little bit of my kind of blind jumping into Xtool Studio, which is their newer software that's going to be they're going to be developing forward, works with their newer machines. But the nice thing is it doesn't override XCS. So you can have both loaded at the same time and kind of dip your toe into it and not have to overwrite your old one to get that going. But
yeah.
Other than that,
the Glacier, the similarities to the A70 is pretty cool, like we've talked about. And I'm going to give Atomstack a little while to send me the enclosure and stuff, but I actually have a little bit of a diabolical plan that I might be able to make that machine fit in my enclosure Zilla, because I really do like the machine. The cleanliness, not having to breathe, that module not having to breathe the smoke, I think is going to be an advantage. And being able to put the chiller outside the enclosure with those longer cables and hoses and stuff. So I'm thinking there's potential. I've got that idea, as well as a idea of a 50-inch by 50-inch work table with a top that like lifts up and basically doubles as a enclosure. So we'll see. That's an idea I've thought about for retirement. Maybe another table build to replace this one that's kind of wasted space underneath it, because there's a few hand tools under there and that's it. So if I built a 50 by 50 table, kind of like the CNC table or my tool table over here, if I had like a 12-inch, top part to it, like a little chamber, I could even take the CNC and take the plywood and cut some windows around the edge of it and put some orange glass in. I'm kicking the idea around. We'll see what comes of it. But me and Klein were talking about it over here the other day, and we were measuring everything, measuring this table. Of course, he's offered to take my table if I do build a new one and want to get rid of it. So we don't know what's going to happen yet, but I do like the machine. I was really impressed with the photo quality. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I did run a photo test as well on that. I can grab that real quick. Now this was done with the 40. You can in the software you can turn it down to 40. And I should have probably adjusted the contrast a little bit more, because you're losing some of the details in the darkness. But when you look at a gravel bed, the rails, all that stuff on there, at the 40 watt setting, the detail is still coming through. And it's nice that it's a software switch, I guess.
Yeah, you got to walk over to the machine.
Yeah, you don't have to flip that switch and I guess either way you could forget about it, but having that in the software is kind of nice. Just go, oh yeah, just make sure it's on this mode.
Yeah, well, see, this was something I thought about the other day. I was like, because if you always assume that it's on 100 watt when you use it, and if you do want to downshift it or upshift it, you have to physically hit the button. I had thought about going into my machine settings and having it run the G code after every job, basically telling it to go back to 100 watt.
Yeah.
And have that in the automatic G code. That way, if you did run it in 40, it would automatic. But then you got to remember every time to change it to. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Either you're going to forget it every time, or you're going to have to remember to do it. You know what I mean? So, but I did think about that. I was like, because it is a G code that it uses to do that, you could put it in hey, before every job or after every job, run this, which is pretty cool. And I've learned how to recognize the power settings, because it really didn't tell you, but you can recognize the power settings when you hit it. What does it say? It says query gear shift or whatever. I renamed mine to like check power on my macro, because it'll actually tell you, what gear it's in, so to speak. But I did a little tweaking with my macros, but I like the machine so far. It's got the consistency of the A70, but a lot more power, which you don't have to use all the time. That's the cool thing about it too, is it seems to do a really good job. Even at 80 watts, it's a beast. So we'll see.
Well, the reduced maintenance on the module itself anyway, keeping that clean is going to be nice. Because any of these diodes, if you don't have good airflow, pulling that smoke down and away from that module, it's gonna get clogged up. I did. I cracked open that the X-Tool S1 to do this project today, and remembered the last thing I had done on it was some rubber stamp stuff for my back to school thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to clean that up. So it was a quick cleaning session on that before I was able to jump into this project, which I still would have had because it was like on the honeycomb and other things, but having to kind of clean out the module for sure. That was part of the issue.
Yeah, Gillette brought up an interesting thing too. You could actually have like the little pop up that says, "Is the exhaust on?" or whatever. You could actually set you a reminder in Lightburn to check the gear of the machine or make sure what power you're in, just as a reminder. But like I said, I think didn't Atomstack say they were working to incorporate some type of a visual, something with the machine, maybe with the LEDs or something, to be able to recognize the gear?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about that. If maybe they were, because I know I had mentioned to them, hey, it'd really be nice to be able to verify on the laser with some sort of, whether it's on the touch screen or an LED indicator on the module or the controller, something to let you know this is the mode it's in. Because that was one of the things they were working on right away, is that the changing the modes, putting it into turbo mode and other things weren't quite working in Lightburn at first, but they have that working now. And so it's like, how do I know? So yeah, it's it definitely some tweaks that could be making it a little more user, just user. I don't want to say user friendly, but just kind of those visual confirmations to give you a little more user confidence of like, okay, it's in the mode that I intend it to be in. So in their software, of course, it does. The button highlights and says it's in whatever mode. But in Lightburn, they're using macros to make the adjustment. So without having a confirmation, you're kind of like, okay, I clicked it.
Yeah, that's the that's the thing that I caught myself when I would swap it. I would hit the query button to make sure that it took. And like you said, it would be nice if it had like a visual, but I had the machine over here and I wasn't necessarily looking at it. So, but in Lightburn, I got to where it was pretty easy to recognize. So that wasn't too terrible.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about getting early access to these machines is me and you aren't going to get to see some of the things that they're going to improve on it. So our machines will be the original, prototype versions. And then, because of the input that we do give them, though, it is nice that maybe there'll be some improvements made to it and make it, like you said, I wouldn't say necessarily user friendly, but a little more like smooth, like just
little polish on it.
Yeah.
So
I like the simplicity of the machines and the fact that there aren't a whole bunch of smart stuff to tear up. Because my experience with smart stuff in lasers is it usually it's great when it works like it's supposed to, but when it doesn't, it's a real pain.
Mm-hmm.
Santa's Laser is asking, could you set up a project to run in 40 watt for a certain layer and then the 100 watts for the next? I would assume you'd have to run one then the other. The way that I did that, Santa, I did the like the photo I did the engrave in 40 watt and then the cut in 100. And once I got the file built, I basically turned off the layers that needed to be in 100 watt, ran the 40 watt layers, and then once that was completed, I turned those 40 watt layers off, turned the 100 watt layers on, shifted the gears, and sent it back out in 100 watt. And that's how I did it. I don't think you can't specify each layer that I'm aware of.
Not in Lightburn. Although if you created one big G code file, you'd have to custom edit the files together.
Yeah, because you'd have to add that gear shift.
Yeah, you could pull the one job, add the macro G code in the middle, have it run the other one, and then just run straight G code off of like the controller or even send it that way through Lightburn. I have to go back and look. Because in the Atomstack Studio software, you can set that. I think you might be able to do it per layer in there.
I don't remember, but now it would probably be easy for them to just add that to their software, no doubt, because they they got control over the back end. So even if it's not in there now, it could very easily find its way there.
I'm gonna see if I can test my theory really quick.
I never tried that, so I can't say for sure if you can or not. I know I did find that one issue. I think I copied you on that email about where the settings were getting a little messed up with the other machine that I'm testing. I didn't check to see if that was happening with the Glacier or not. But there's still some improvements to be made in their software too. But it works.
Yeah, you can in Atomstack Studio. You set all the parameters per layer. So
cool.
you could do an engrave, do a photo engrave in 40 watt, and then on your cut layer, on your line layer, you can then tell it to go into 100 watt, and then you can turn on the turbo for the 120 if you need it. So yeah,
right. Yeah. I didn't even try that. That would be an interesting. That might be a good video.
Yeah, I briefly touched on the two. No, I didn't in this one. I need to get a little more used to it. There are a couple quirks to the software.
Yeah, I sent them an email about that one that I found, the bug or whatever. And like I said, they've been good so far about addressing bugs with the software. Better than some of the companies in the past I've dealt with, for sure.
But yeah, it looks like that is possible through their software.
Yeah, that would be cool. And it probably wouldn't take much for Lightburn to be able to add, like, to where you could set that in there somewhere. But like you said, you could download the G code and just edit it yourself and do it that way.
So this is Atomstack Studio. I'm not connected, but we got the Glacier up here. And so on this one, I could change it to fill, and then I can set it to 40. Sorry, I need to get down here. I can, highlight this one, change it to fill, change that to 40. We can adjust our power, speed, whatever. And then we can come back up to our black layer, our line. And this one we can have on 100 watt. We can put it on turbo. It gives us a little warning. And then if I switch back to this one, oh, when you turn on turbo though, okay, so you can only do it in 100 watt. So when you turn on turbo, it automatically overwrites that. So you can go up to 100 watt. And if I switch back here, it's still on 40 watt. So that's a caveat. In normal mode, we can do it, but not turbo to get the full power.
Yeah, I think yours is doing that speed thing that I.
Yeah, it constantly, you got to watch this one. It'll default to no speed and.
Yeah, they're aware of that one. You just can't click on any. You can't click on any of the shapes or whatever after you set it. Yeah. But yeah, I sent them the email on that one. I copied you on it just so you would know about it, because that we weren't reporting the same problem.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, I think me and you are the only two Glaciers I've seen out there or in our shops.
Well, there's
the ones that Atomstack have, of course. Like
there's two other videos out there. One by that Sammy Lou guy, and then there was one I noticed from another. I'm not sure where they're based out of. So, but it looked like they were doing some tests that weren't just stock video from their marketing stuff.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, like I said, I'm digging the software so far. I'm digging the setup, and I'm glad to be glad when they get it up and going, like all the bugs worked out.
Yep.
Trying to scroll through the comments. If you've left a comment and we haven't answered, be sure to just go throw it back up there, because sometimes we get like squirreled and lost in the comment section over here. Tim saying looks like Xtool is coming out with a UV laser soon in the F form factor. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing. Like I said, my Xtool kind of went dark with me. I don't get a whole lot of information from Xtool. I do like follow some of the people that are still, part of their group or whatever. And I've seen some of the stuff that they've been talking about, and it looks interesting. Curious, where it's going to land as far as the financial spectrum, whether it's going to be, more of a, and like what me and Steve have talked about, is it going to be the price of the dual, like blue and MOPA, or is it going to be like just kind of like the MOPA F2 price range? I mean, because that's not a terrible price range for the F2 MOPA, but if you start combining the two beams, the price jumps way up on you. So I don't know that anybody's put anything out about price. They're saying it's going to be cheaper than expected, but you never
Yeah,
know.
that is a question with X-Tool, because does that mean it's going to be in line with others? Is it cheaper than others, or is it cheaper when what you would expect from X-Tool? And I think part of it too is they're a little late to the game. Sculpt Fun has theirs out. It looks like theirs are going to be right around $3,000, give or take, for their UV laser, for at least some of their early birds. And you got the Com Marker, you got the Hoation, and there's a few others. It'll be interesting to see what they bring to the party. Now, their software has typically been better than others. It's made things easier, so that could be a big upsell. Not that doing the 3D crystal engravings on the Com Marker is difficult at all.
Yeah.
You can change some parameters, but the default ones kind of just work. So it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the party with that one, and what it costs, and maybe if there are extra features they get in there because of their software and such. So, but yeah, I don't expect to see one in my shop.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from them. Like I said, the last thing I heard from them, they were having a sale and they wanted me to do a video and advertise for their sale. And like I said, I just told them I don't do strictly sale videos. I just that's just not what I do. I mean, it's nothing against them, and there's people out there that do those. That's just not what I wanted to do. I'm not against trying out some equipment and telling people what I think about it. But just to straight up, hey, this company's having a sale. Because if I do it for X-Tool, now I got to do it for Atomstack. I got to do it for Longer. I got to do it for Laser Pegger. I got to do it. And next thing you know, just call me QVC. And I don't want to be that way. So
right. Well, and I try to. The review videos are good as long as the laser is relevant, but I don't even necessarily like to throw it in like with a project video, because those project videos are going to last for a while. They're a little more evergreen, and so I don't want to water it down with a big sales pitch about stuff. I tell them we might mention things here, but and interesting enough, so they are having like a big anniversary sale. It's like their 5-year anniversary, but I think it's kind of a similar thing. There's a multiple ones that have like their X year anniversary right about now.
Yeah, or New Year's or Christmas or
Father's Day. We kind of use this as a little bit of the, hey, here's some new thing we've heard about. We're keeping an eye on it kind of stuff, but I don't want to necessarily inundate that with on the regular videos and such.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of the review stuff, I don't want to do as much of it as I do sometimes, but at the same time, we say that, and then we get emails from people going, hey, I'm looking at buying this laser or this laser, which one's better? And I can't give you any advice if all I've seen is, the public information. So I do like being able to be a resource for other folks. And I like playing with new toys. And I like knowing what's out there. I like being one of those folks that, when they come out with a new laser, they're either emailing or asking questions or wanting to send one out. I enjoy that. So, and it's been fun most of the time. But sometimes it's a pain. There's been a few times that I was like, why did I take this?
Yeah. Even some of the fun ones, like we mentioned before, when they get out of the schedule that was originally talked about, it gets mixed in with other work and other projects and such. So
yeah, because as much as I love Atomstack, we talked to them about almost a year ago about some of these machines, and then all three of them come in within a month. It's like bam, bam, bam. Yeah. It can be a little overwhelming at times, especially when you're doing this as a part-time gig.
Yeah, Radu, I'm going to try not to be too distracted by the game.
Yeah, sure.
But if you start seeing me getting very frustrated, it's just a typical day in a Minnesota sports fan's life.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim, they've leaned pretty heavy into like sending some betas out there with some folks and doing the demo room stuff. And you never know. That metal fab thing, as far as I know, I only have seen like 3, I think, in the wild that I know of. So,
well, it's different circles.
yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to say. And plus, some of those machines they're much more industrial.
yeah.
It's not a typical
Mine and your place
steam.
would go up in smoke if we had something like
Well,
that
it
spewing
just
sparks
doesn't fit into my typical work. I love to incorporate metalwork into some of the stuff I do every so often, but not so much that I'm going to dedicate any space in here to work with it. So,
Yeah. Rob, this is kind of a trick question. Yes, there is on some machines, and some machines there is not. If you're in line mode, basically the line is going to be determined by the spot size of your laser and at which point of the focal spectrum you are. If you want a wider line in Lightburn, if you have an active Z axis on your machine, you can raise, I mean, you can lower it and have the effect, but I prefer to raise the Z axis. And in doing so, what you do is you pull your laser out of focus, which in essence will make a wider line. It'll also usually will result in a darker line. So you'll get a little bit more of a burn and less of a just disintegration of the material. The trick to it is finding that happy medium. And what you'll need to do is basically set you up some little squares and just run it like, you know, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, as far as your elevation on your Z axis, and then go from there. If that is not an option, you can use the offset tool and just offset it, like basically offset it the thickness of your beam, and do like basically 4 passes. You'll make it do like 4 passes, but each pass will offset the previous one, and get thicker lines there. Now in engraving, that's what LPI and focus comes into play. But that's the only way that I know, short of changing a focal lens on like a bigger CO2 or something. So, what say you, Steve? Anything to add that I missed?
Yeah, no, I mean, about the only way to really get a solid measured thickness of a line is offset the one, and then you can play around with your fill settings depending to get the look you want. But
yeah. I think somebody was asking about borosilicate glass melting instead of engraving. Maybe that's something I've never tried. I've never had anything melt glass wise.
Well, I mean, melting it, that's kind of a sign of too much power.
Way too slow.
So you can lower your power. You can, but also defocus it. It'll soften that how aggressive it's hitting the glass, and then that will help kind of give it more of a frosted look rather than the fractured look. But I would definitely increase your speed or back off your power, and also try the defocus to see if you can get a softer engraving. Similar thing that you'll get on slate. If you get way too much power on there, it actually will kind of turn it molten, and you'll get kind of that rough, raised, almost burnt look to it as well. So,
I just saw this, and I'm not sure. It says I have the Atomstack A40 with autofocus. Can you set up a macro to do this? I'm not sure exactly, Randall. I'm not sure which part you were talking about. We went down a rabbit hole with the different machines.
Yeah, I think that the macro should be this. I mean, if you're talking in Lightburn, it should be the same command. That what is it? ESP 500.
As far as setting focus or doing autofocus.
To do the autofocus on the.
Yeah, I'll tell you the way with an Atomstack machine. If you can download Atomstack Studio, and I think you still have it open. Well, you ain't got a machine hooked to it though, do you?
No.
You can show the box though. There's a box on there that is basically the console, and you can actually pull that up and look at it when you hit the autofocus button. If you're in your machine, in the event that your machine uses a different command, you'll see it when it sends that command. You'll see it in the G code that it sends to the machine, and then you can just create a macro, whatever you want to call it, to mimic that and send that G code and accomplish whatever the thing is. that you're trying to do. You can even create them to like send your laser to a certain location instead of having to use the move tab if you wanted to. You can create them to, just tell you basically, like if you set your focus, you can actually create one to automatically raise the Z so many millimeters or whatever, so you don't have to do it on the layer. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with those. I've actually got to where I use them a lot more than I used to. It used to be like a very overlooked tool for me, but I'm getting to where I use those G-code commands and those macros a lot more. Thor's saying I can't get a lens back from Atomstack. I don't know which lens it is, but Steve might be able to help you with that.
Yeah, it depends on what, which machine, because they have different size lens covers. So,
yeah, appreciate it, Jerry. I know me and Steve speak to each other about this on a regular basis. He says, "Good evening, guys. By the way, I like the fact that you both maintain your principles and buys free focus and evaluating machines." And that's our point. People's like, oh, they're trying to sell you a machine. Okay. I mean, if you do buy a machine, we like for you to use our affiliate commissions or affiliate codes. But me and Steve pretty much have an affiliate code for any manufacturer out there. So, I mean, it doesn't matter to us which one you buy. We think you need to buy the one that works best for you, that suits your budget, your needs. I mean, that's the whole thing in a nutshell. What's up, Minnesota Custom Made? How are you? Hadn't seen you in a while. Been hiding out from us there. Jack said metal brings him the most money. And if in the right environment, it will. In my case and Steve's case, well, first of all, I don't have room or the means to be dealing with a bunch of heavy steel and stuff in here. I'd be lost a toe in my Crocs. I'd have to wear steel toes. That would just mess up my style.
Yeah, I've seen some people with some metal projects, and they get some good money for them, but it's a bigger investment up front for materials and other things, and it's just not my main thing. It'd be very much me learning as I go at this point. So I don't have time right now or the space to dedicate to that and then feel good about the product I'm pushing out to people. So,
yeah, well, my thing is right now is I've got more that I can do already. That's why I don't have a whole bunch of other kind of printers sitting around. I've got plenty to keep me busy with what I've already got. If a customer comes along and wants a specific product and they're going to buy them from me enough over, next few years that I can justify it, I might do something different. Who knows? But not right now. Don's asking, wanted to know your thoughts on the X-Tool P3 with all the new features like motorized bed and the 4 cameras, RA3 with a new way to lock it in place, and the new 3 focus lenses. If seen the videos on it, I've saw some of the reviews and I saw some of the stuff on the machine. It looks interesting, but I've also, there's a threshold for me when it comes to, certain like desktop machines or machines that are built like a desktop machine, because I've learned a lot in the past week or so of working on this Omtech Polar, having to disassemble it to get to the controller or to the power supply. Even though they may say that it can do commercial jobs, there is a difference in a machine built for commercial purposes and a machine built for residential purposes. Commercial is going to generally be bigger. Like the machines that I would buy from my shop if I were to upgrade today are really big machines, but you open a door and you can see the controller, the power supply, all the wiring. You don't have to disassemble the machine. You just open a panel and it's right there. That's one of the things, one of the few things that I will say when you get into a desktop CO2 that I'm learning is a bit of a pain is when you have to work on them yourself because you have to disassemble it and take things out to be able to get to other things. That's the only thing that I think once you step up and you get into that commercial, realm, so to speak, if it's going to do commercial work, you're going to have to do commercial maintenance. Now, I did see that they've got some magnetic covers and panels that come off pretty easy for general maintenance and stuff. So as long as you don't have to replace any parts, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But that's something that I'm having to deal with right now on this Omtech, and it's not that big of a deal. I mean, the Omtech was built to be small, compact, just with anything. It's still got the same parts in it, whether it's the size of a truck or the size of a small car. It's still got the same type of parts. It's just smashed together. So that would be one of my only big concerns is that, if you ever did have to work on it, if you're using it as a commercial machine, which means you're running it a lot more than your average home ran machine, how hard would the maintenance be? But other than that, the price point kind of, I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's right for me. It might be right for other people. I just don't know that. Like I've got my eye on a Thunder or an Omtech, one of the new Omtech series. That's unless Monport or somebody can blow my socks off. That's where I'm leaning as far as my commercial machine that I want to get eventually once I get to that point. And this new machine from X-Tool really hasn't changed my direction. It didn't impact my decision so far. So that's from my perspective. Your perspective may be totally different. Steve's may be different. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've made good progress in taking some feedback of the P2 series, implementing some changes. I do like that it's a DSP controller is going to open up more capabilities, higher speed and accuracy than the GRBL controllers. And they did try to do more with the placement of things like the rotary. Not having my hands on it, I don't know how well that works, but anytime you can have anything that it keys into or locks in place, it's going to simplify that quite a bit. Cameras, I'll give it to X-Tool. They're one of the ones that do it better with their software. It seems to work pretty well. So I'd be curious. That being said, even with theirs, like on the F1 Ultra with the conveyor belt and others, I'm still not sold on the automatic placement of items, or even using the camera to try. If you want to nail a coin and get it perfectly round and aligned, it's still going to be, set up a fixture, set up a jig, set up something physically that this is where it's in place, and use absolute coordinates is still the way to do that. So yeah, you can get a similar capabilities and power in other manufacturers. You could probably get a bigger working area and power for the same price. It's really going to come down to, do you really like their software and their integration? They do tend to make things a little bit easier and more successful without as much work on pre-processing and setting up things. That's kind of what you're getting with X-Tool. You're buying into that kind of ecosystem of support and software and such. So that's where I think the big option to go with them is. Now they also have their, what is it, the AP2, what are they calling that thing? The Max, the AP2 Plus?
Yeah,
they're bigger,
massive.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, especially for people in northern climates like myself, you don't want to dump your heated air out and be pulling in sub-zero air into your shop, and having to reheat that and keep things at temp. So, based on my experience of the AP2, I think it's going to work better than others. But I think the price on that thing is about $2,500, which I've mentioned this before. If you're trying to do air purification, air filtration inside a closed space, you are going to pay for it. You can't expect a $300 desktop unit to do very much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The 3 focus lenses, you pick any of the major like cabinet style lasers, there's aftermarket lenses galore for those. And this is where having something that isn't tied to their software and their macros, if you can go in and easily change a setting to say, instead of focusing at, 100 millimeters, focus at 75 or whatever, being able to easily change that is helpful. And that's something that you can do on most basic light burn controlled machines. So,
yeah. And that's another thing is like, that's the one reason why, if you look over my shoulder right over there, that's the X-Tool P2. And it's over there in storage because I like light burn, and light burn with the X-Tool P2, you lose, like, it's just not a fluid. It's not a good case use. The camera only works with XCS and all these kind of things. So that's why I don't use it. I'm just not comfortable doing the stuff that I do, and I don't want to try to learn how to design in XCS. So that's why I'm leaning more towards, Thunder or Omtech. That and Thunder and Omtech are they're the higher end of the area which I consider myself to be operating in. I'm not fixing to go buy myself a red line. I'm not fixing to go get myself an epilogue. I mean, I not saying I couldn't, but I don't see, me personally, I don't see where it's worth it for me to go that route right now. I think I can make do with a good Omtech or a good Thunder. I think would be plenty for what I want, because I'm not that high maintenance. I'm good, and I'm not one to just do what other people do. That's another thing too. I mean, I know there's a lot of bandwagons and people like to jump on them. That's just not me. I'm kind of like, I'm gonna make my own path, and it may be right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's the direction I'm going. You know what I mean?
And as you mentioned earlier, I mean, any of these benchtop all-in-one units are going to be more difficult to work on when you have problems. I mean, it's as simple as having to replace power supply or mirrors or any of that stuff. They are just harder to work on because of the kind of the compact nature of it. And I saw Santa laser engraving in the comment. Camera comes in handy. Yeah, it can. You can use the trace function. But that's not, I mean, that could be done with any camera and importing the photo as well. Or even better, if it is a flat piece, if you can use a scanner, you're not going to have the kind of the camera aberration from side to side and such. So it's not that they're useless. I just don't trust them for the automatic placement of things.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you want to use up material and you've got a scan or an engraving and a cutting operation, it is great for that. Or if you have, there are cases where you can't use an external camera or scanning it for other things. There are reasons why that might be useful, but I'm just, as much as people rely on them and expect them to just be perfect, that in my mind is not there for the level of work I want to do.
Yeah. Super Duty Jeff says, what are your guys' thoughts on the CO2 laser in my application in the RV mobile shop? Concerned about movement, never been an issue with any of the diodes. And I don't know that it would be an issue with the CO2, but I do know that if it was going to become an issue, it would probably show itself in the CO2 before it would a diode, in my opinion. But what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, you got to make sure that, as long as it's not bouncing around too much, because these things, they're all about the alignment, and you've got a glass tube, you got mirrors, you've got the focus lens, all that needs to be in alignment. And bouncing down the highway, I think in the RV is, or a multi-axle trailer, probably okay, but in a smaller single axle trailer or something that doesn't have the suspension just kind of cushiony, but it's just feeling every bump, That's where I'd be worried about it. I've seen a lot of people do it, and that's my biggest. But you also have to look at these things. You know, the CO2 lasers, they come in crates off of a semi truck, and the last one I got, it was the only thing on the truck. So, granted, that was probably for the last 30 miles or so, but
it was wrapped in bubble wrap, packed in foam, and everything else.
It would be the biggest concern of damage to the tube and or alignment of the mirrors.
Yeah. Trying to go through these comments. There's different stuff going on in the comment section over here. David, I love the Thunderbolt machines as far as speed, accuracy. I mean, I run my buddy Tim. I don't have one here in my shop. Y'all know that. But my buddy Tim at the trophy shop has a Thunderbolt. His Epilogue went down a year or two ago at his trophy shop where he does laser engraving and stuff. And he reached out to me and was like, hey, my machine's down. I got to replace it because I've got orders piling up. And he actually I was basically helping him get orders out until he could, get his machine going again. So I was kind of like on standby to take in any kind of orders he had. And he ordered a Thunderbolt 32, the standard bolt, because he had an Epilogue that was similarly sized. I think it was a little bit wider work area, a little bit larger work area. But that machine was the Epilogue was like 20 years old. And so he got the bolt and got the Roto Boss rotary and everything with it. And I had to go up and train his workers on light burn and on that machine because they had ran the Epilogue for 20 years. But it was a Corel Draw operated machine. And so nobody in the place had ever seen light burn. And they're like, what is this? And they didn't know how to set the machine up and all that. So I went up and spent some time and helped him get the machine connected, calibrated, made sure everything was like it needed to be, checked the focal alignment and beam and all that. Everything was good on it. And I've had to go in from time to time to help them, with light burn and doing new things. I love that thing. I love it. The only holdback, the only reason there isn't one in the shop already is because if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a machine, I need one that I can do my stove covers in too, or bigger projects like my name signs and stuff like that. So if I'm going to buy a bigger laser and I'm going to spend, X amount of money on it, it needs to have about a 32 or bigger wide work area, which the Thunderbolt Pro series would work. That's just a big bite to take right now with me just retiring and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not willing to do it. But I've been looking at the Ohmtech. Ohmtech has some machines too that are similarly sized, but have a lot of the same technology as far as the speed of the steppers and the wider drive belts and stuff like that. So I'm kind of tossed up right now. Do I want to get the even bigger Ohmtech, or do I want to get a slightly smaller Thunder? So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I've been lurking the halls of Facebook Marketplace. There's a Thunder Nova 51 that is within striking range of me right now. I'm having to talk myself out of it. I don't let myself act on anything for 72 hours because I don't want to make an impulse decision. But here lately, every time I see one and I start thinking about it before my 72-hour window is up, it's gone. So, so luckily I haven't had to cross that bridge. But yeah, I would love to have a Thunder. I like them. They, if they called me today and said, hey, would you like to try this machine out? I would definitely do it. But it is, Ohmtech's winning me over though with this new series of machines that they have, because it has a lot of the same steppers, the size steppers and the belt and the oversized drive system and some of the stuff that they're doing. It's, I'll figure it out when the right machine is there. I will know, and I will strike then. We'll see. Maybe Steve will get one tried out. Let me know.
Yeah, I don't have any firsthand experience with them. Looking at the information on the Thunderbolt series online and talking to a few others that have, they are nice machines. I do have a number of contacts, friends that have used Thunders and generally speak pretty highly of them. They seem to have pretty decent support for a variety of people. So, it definitely would be on my list of things to look at, whether it be the Thunderbolt or one of their other ones. It would depend on that. But
yeah, see, that's like my Polar Plus. I love that thing. I don't know what happened to the power supply. I'm pretty sure it's a power supply, but I've got to get it down and troubleshoot it some more. But so far, Ohmtech's support has been right there with me. I email them, and the next morning they email me back. And I mean, they're waiting on me right now to actually check the output voltages and stuff and let them know, whether I need a power supply or what. But yeah, I've had that machine for a while, and I think it had a loose wire. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I'd always noticed a little bit of a pop when I turned it on that almost sounded like a capacitor discharging. But I just, I'd never had one like it before. So yeah. I'm thinking, hindsight now, I'm thinking maybe there was a loose connection somewhere and it's arced one too many times. And I'm hoping maybe it just popped loose. Something just popped loose in there. So we'll see.
Could be.
But this week, so far, I have had to replace the inlet solenoids for my washing machine, because when you turn the washing machine on, it would just trickle, like just barely trickle water. And it would even trickle water even when the washing machine was off, which is not normal. So I've had to do that. Got that fixed the other day. And the refrigerator, we got the water and ice in the door. Well, the water quit working, and then the ice got really small. Like my ice cubes are really tiny. So I've had to take that apart, and the inlet solenoids on it are going bad. And I know it's like, what's the chances of the dryer and the washing machine and the refrigerator both tearing up in the same week, right? And so I made a comment the other day. I told Brandy, I said, I wish we had an appliance tear up where I'd have something to work on. And I'll be doggone. Next morning, Brandy's in there doing laundry, and she comes into the living room. She's like, hey, you remember how you said you wish something would tear up where you'd have something to work on? I was like, yeah. What about it? She's like, the dryer just quit getting hot. So today, I took the dryer apart and did some troubleshooting on it, and the element is burnt. Like it's got to have a new element. So I've got all my parts coming. Amazon's going to think I'm running a small appliance business here. And Brandy did say that if the shack doesn't work out, I can get me a little white van and start doing appliance repair in the area, because I'm getting pretty good at it. Like this week, I have fixed the washing machine, working on the refrigerator and the dryer, and it's just been a mess. No, Brady said it wasn't the next morning. It was like 20 minutes later. She said I wasted that wish. I should have wished for $1 million.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a week, man. But I'm getting, hey, my volt ohm meter, my multimeter has gotten some use. That thing has paid for itself this week, because like testing, because you have the two basically heat protect circuits that are built into it too. If it gets too hot, it'll pop those. So I tested continuity on both of those. They were good. Tested the element, and it was like no go. And so I took the element out, and sure enough, under the bottom side of it, the coils were just busted. So yeah, it's been a mess.
Well, I'm waiting for my third. I had appliance issues as well. Our dryer seized up, and I thought it was a broken belt, but it was another obstruction. Got that cleared up and that working again. And then the next morning, our water softener was just sitting there cycling. And I was like, oh, that's got fewer parts that I can fix on, but got it reset and got that to close off. And I'm like, so now I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm like, what's the third one?
Yeah.
Because everything in threes.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that we're done for now. Knock on wood. I'm hoping. But Wick Central says industrial laundry is my business. Ironic. I'm the first time here. Hey, you never know what we're going to talk about here. It's typically it's a hodgepodge. It's like all kinds of stuff. If you want to know about most anything, we probably will bring it up. Steve Brandy's like, want me to wish for it? I think she's talking about you. Want me to wish it for you? Because she's like, you wasted that wish.
Yeah.
I was being sarcastic.
That's the problem. Your genie doesn't understand sarcasm.
Brian said, when I get that van, make sure I have my candy in there. Hey, I ain't above it. If this shack thing don't work out, I might have it might be a laser engraving CNC appliance repair business.
So Kevin Rich boarded a flight and it asked a question. If you could get either the Reno 65 Pro or Polar Plus, which would you choose? Also, can Lightroom do batching?
What do you mean by batching?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you mean by batching. I mean, you can do like sequential numbers in it and you can do repeated jobs, but I don't know. It doesn't really do like the auto detect kind of stuff.
Do what
the others.
If you do what I do, which is build a jig that holds multiples or holds your object, and then all you got to do is hit engrave, wait for it to finish, take that one out, put another one in, hit the engrave button, put that, and then you just repeat. That's what I did today and yesterday. Matter of fact, if you can see them, all those awards are over there on the CNC. I've got them clear coated front and back. Now I got to do the edges, but I'm waiting to get the stands cut and put together to do the edges, because I'm just gonna when I instead of doing them all separate, I'm gonna clear coat them and the stands at the same time. But yeah, it's I've got the Polar Plus, and I have I'm supposed to be getting a Monport Reno 60. Is it 65 or 55 that I'm getting?
That they were sending you the 45 with the camera. The 65 with the camera's not out yet.
The 40 is 45 Vision is what they call it.
Yep.
So I'm going to test it out. Steve said that the Reno 45 he has was decent. So I'm hoping for the same thing with the Reno 45 Vision, which is basically the same machine, but with the camera. It doesn't have like Auto Z. It has that. That's the one that's got the little turkey baster thing that pops and lets you know it's done or whatever. But the little turkey, you know the things I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Turkey, it pops out when it's ready. But yeah, it's supposed to be better than the M40s that me and Steve had, the OK40 models.
Yeah, it's definitely better than those. So yeah, the Reno 65, they don't have the vision option yet. It's supposedly coming, so you would be without a camera, which it is nice to have, but I don't know. I haven't tried it in the Reno. That there's a real shallow. It's going to be a wide angle one, and I'm guessing it's going to be, well, really on any of these cabinet ones, it's going to be fairly accurate in the center, not 100%, but typical. But as you get to the outside edges, it's going to be rough. But that's probably, I mean, my Ohmtech Polar Light's kind of the same thing. The further away from center you get, the more offset it gets. So, I don't know. I mean, I think the size of the 65 might be just a touch bigger than the Polar Plus. So you'd get a little,
maybe the Polar is like 12 by 20 ish.
Yeah. And I think the Monport, 65 is like 24 by 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you get a little extra working area, and looking at those, I mean, work bed area is kind of a, you're more likely to run into a situation where you wish you had more than you feel like the thing's too big. Not always, but that's sometimes the case. So
yeah. Radu, I know we're supposed to be talking about lasers and CNCs and 3D printers, but yeah, if it's filling with hot when it's supposed to be cold, and it's filling with cold when it's supposed to be hot, switch them around. Somebody has screwed the wrong hose onto the wrong place, because the way that thing's going to work, and this is from my experience in the past 2 days, because I've become quite the knowledgeable person when it comes to these water activated solenoids, is you'll either have 2 or 3 in there. You'll have like a hot and a cold and a mix, or either you'll just have a hot and a cold. So chances are the hoses have gotten flipped around, so you can flip them around, and that may fix your problem. Or it could just be like somebody played joke on you and put the wires to the wrong solenoid on the inside of the machine. But either way, it should work.
So going back to the 65 Pro versus the Polar, the other thing I would say is they both have integrated kind of air assists that are probably less than you'd like. So I would, knowing what the upgrade path was on the 45, and I'm assuming the 65 is going to be the same. You can upgrade the air. There is a tap on the top wisdom board to be able to control it through Lightburn. And on the Reno, the chiller is not integrated, which in my mind is better because you can then swap it out easily with an actual compressor-based chiller that's going to actually provide some cooling and not just be a radiator inside the case. So from those aspects, you're getting back to more of like the simpler cabinet style, just in a benchtop style, where you have a little more control, but it also requires you to, do those upgrades or do those add-ons as well. So just another thing to consider.
As Cindy's asking, instead of just got the Xtool S1, what software is better, Lightburn or the Xtool software? In my opinion, and I'm a Lightburn fanatic, so just know that, if you're using an Xtool machine, Xtool software is going to give you the most bang for your buck as far as operating the different features on the machine. But it's not a bad idea. The design tools that are in Lightburn, if you're comfortable with them, it's not a bad idea to have both tools. That way you can design and export over into XCS if you want to. But I run with my S1 because it has that pointer that is awesome. I love the S1 with the pointer, the crosshairs. It just makes life so much easier, especially if you have like a small place that you want to put your design. You can just like click the buttons and frame it and then tell the machine that's where I want to put it. XCS software is just, to me, is better for the S1 because it has that little system built into it with the probe as well as the crosshairs. That would be my preference. What about you, Steve? Do you like Lightburn with your S1?
I've never liked using Lightburn with the S1. The Xtool software is fairly well refined. Of course, they just came out with Studio, and I literally just tried it out blind on this project I did today. And there were a couple things I had to look a couple times for because they moved some things around, but it wasn't difficult to pick up. Now, I've used a number of different laser softwares and design softwares, so some of the things might be a little more intuitive for me. But that's one thing that Xtool does well is they really hold your hand, both in material settings. They'll remind you like, hey, you haven't set your marking area, you haven't done this. They do walk you through it and kind of help you make sure you have fewer failures and more successes. So.
And I do like Xtool's software when it comes to images. They've kind of got it right with the images. Like when you import an image, it adjusts it for you, and it typically turns out well without a whole lot of knowledge of how to, what to do with the image. It'll like do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Week Central says, not sure how I got here. He said, I'm interested in lasers, into 3D printing, and looking for after retirement side gigs. Well, that's why you got here, because I do laser, CNC, 3D printing, and I got 17 days left until I retire, and this becomes my full-time job. So, hey, this channel, this live stream was made for you.
I do all those things, but the retirement. I do side gigs. I've done side gigs forever, but not the retirement bit.
Yeah. And if y'all didn't see it, this is my latest 3D design today. I've been squirreling a lot today. I've been working on different projects, and while they were like, I've been doing a lot of finishing, like with polyacrylic, and so while it's drying, I didn't have anything to do. So I designed this neat little base, this little, inspired by the Egyptians base here for my crystals. And I even incorporated like a little hole that you can actually pass a USB cable through there, so you can put lights under here. And the crystal is snug because I wanted it to kind of stay in there. And then you can put the lights in the bottom. You could use those little teacup lights. If, like Brady was saying, that you could get one of those little 1-inch teacup lights and put that in here if you didn't want a cable or cord or whatever. And then this just snaps. Hang on, I gotta bump it a little bit. Snaps into the there we go, into the base, and with it snapping in, it doesn't come out. I did loosen it just ever so much for version 2. This one I'm going to paint with some some Rust-Oleum, the gold or either silver. I'm not sure which, but I'm going to try to make this one fancy. This is the same design. I did kind of loosen up the fit for the crystal a little bit because I wanted it to where it had to like snap in, but I didn't want it to where you had to hammer it in. So this one still like retains the crystal for the most part, but you don't have to beat it with a hammer. This is a test crystal, by the way. This one is actually done correctly. So there you go.
So the question people are asking is, are you going to sell those or the file?
The file, probably, yes. I do want to make sure I want to print a few more and make sure I don't have any problems. Because you know how it is. Sometimes you think it works and then you find out that it don't work. These are both printed out of PLA. I always try to use PLA when I'm prototyping because I'm trying to get rid of all my PLA. And the next ones will be, I'll be making them out of PETG. But yeah, I made them a little tight. But like I said, I wanted it to where it would retain it. I didn't want it to where it just fall out. So like there's a recess inside there. And so when you put this on there, you just have to like snap it in because it's just tight enough to hold it. But I've got a case of these things ordered. I just don't know when they're going to get here. The crystals. And I'm going to do some of them. And I'm taking them up to my buddy Tim's and putting them on display. And I told him if he sells them, like he can sell them for whatever. I'm going to tell him what I need for the base and the crystal together. And then if he sells one, you know, he can make $10, $20 off of them, whatever, as long as I can make them. But yeah, that's where we're at. And I even put some little rubbery feet on this one. But the other one I plan on painting to make it like fancy, either silver or gold. So I haven't put the feet on it yet or put lights in it or anything like that. It's just white PLA. So there you go. But yeah, I did. It was inspired by the Egyptians because I wanted to make it base big enough to where it wouldn't get knocked over easily because this is crystal. If it hits the ground, it's going to break. So there you go.
Kind of a follow-up to the earlier statement about looking for a retirement gig is that Wiki Central is asking, or Wick Central is asking, is it viable to find a local customer base in a city of, say, 75,000 population for laser and 3D print work?
My first question would be, what's your dollar figure on viable?
Well,
I mean, first of all,
yeah, I mean, there's that, and every market's different. And I'll be honest, I mean, I live in a similar size community, but the greater Mankato area is actually closer to about 100,000 if you incorporate everything within about 20 minutes. And I'll say it might almost be easier in a slightly smaller area. Because there are a lot of, I see it all the time in Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I've shared some with David where I'm like, I don't know how these people are even buying materials for what they're offering these things up for on Facebook Marketplace around me. So it really depends on what your, do you have some sort of niche product that you can do that's not just slate coasters and, typical decor signs? Or, take a look at, are there farmers markets? Are there craft shows and whatnot? And are there other people doing this? Or jump on Facebook Marketplace and some of those other local, buy sell areas. See if there is a lot of stuff in your area that would kind of give you an idea of if there's too much competition. It's hard to tell if they're making sales or not. And from there, it's best if you can kind of make yourself a little bit unique. It doesn't take a lot of people to build up a business. Clack's in a much smaller community than I am, and he got himself established with some of the local businesses. And I would gather there's maybe a little less competition in his immediate space than my area. So that can help, but competition doesn't mean you can't make it work. It's just how you market yourself, how you get out there, and if you can kind of differentiate yourself in some way.
Yeah. But as far as I know, and as far as anybody has told me, especially with the Galvo machines, the CNC, and the laser, with all of those disciplines combined, at 3D printing too, with the disciplines that I have here combined, you're looking at, I don't know, Montgomery, maybe you could find somebody there, but I think you would have to go all the way to Birmingham to find somebody that could do a job that required more than just one machine. Like if you needed somebody that needed to, if you wanted them to do, if they wanted you to do like a CNC project and engrave it, like I did with those plaques over there, you would have to go to a shop that did the laser stuff, and they would have to order the blanks online or order them from somebody with the CNC, because not too many people do all the different phases. Like I make my own blanks and then laser engrave them, and so that's a little different. But the biggest thing that I would say when you're starting out, try to make business connections. That's the one thing that me and Brandy have been talking about as I move into retirement, is even if my online presence like vaporized, I've got enough with my business to business stuff around here. I could sustain myself. Like it would be, I mean, I wouldn't have to, because if I didn't have online presence, I wouldn't have to have a lot of the softwares and stuff like that I have. So I could sustain myself just off of my local business partners that I work with. And I could even reach out and make more business partners, because I've actually had a couple of people ask me about making things that, I turned down. Like my buddy Tip, this is one of those things that people don't think about. My buddy Tip makes those. I know y'all have seen those wooden stakes that realtors use, that they put their sign on, and it has slots in it with a wing nut, and they screw their signs to it and stick it in the yard. My buddy Tip, he makes those on his CNC. He puts 1x4s up there. CNC cuts them out, drills all the holes and everything. He takes them out in his garage, spray paints them white with his little paint sprayer, bundles them up with some cellophane, and takes them to Tim's trophy shop and sells them. And the realtors buy them. So if you can find yourself providing products for a business that is a viable business that's going to be around for a while, like I do with Clayton Homes and some of the other people around in the area, those type things, like you don't have to work as hard for those projects. And typically you're making the same thing over and over. So you don't have the research, the R&D and the prototyping and stuff like that involved. So that would be my thing. Try to get some business to business.
So following up on that, the supplemental retirement basically to pay for the hobby, and also Mankato's not too far. Well, good to hear there's another local person. And
well, hey, there may be some machines to be had in Mankato.
Paying for the hobby is it makes it flexible for you. I know there's a lot of people that have gone to some of the local kind of maker outlets, and they're the local makerspace does like I think it's a quarterly kind of maker market, and there are some guys there who offer wood turn bowls, and I've bought some from him just because they're nice and they're super cheap. And I talked to him about it. I'm like, there's no way you're making your time back. And he's like, no, I get the wood for free and I teach the classes on it. This is just basically to clear out the shop and have some fun money. So definitely easier for someone who's not worried about, replacing like a full-time income and such. So
yeah, I feel you pain on that, Wick Central. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to have a check coming in, but there is a gap. And I like my toys. Nobody wants to be retired and sit at home broke all the time. So this is going to help me keep my toy addiction going.
Yep. There was this is the one you had up there before, so I'll bring it back up for you.
Yeah, Sherry's saying I have an IQ Pro 5 watt. The shield is about a 1/4 inch wider than the actual machine. Replacement is an option. I'm looking for an option of somehow to fix it. Stand by.
Yeah, I think that one is different from the Ultra that I've got, but I think Clack's got his iCube that hopefully is closer. Maybe he's got something he can point out there for you.
Right, I can't find what I was looking for exactly. Without actually ordering a shield or making a new shield or whatever, if you've got a small gap and it's causing problems with ventilation, or maybe you're worried that there might be some reflective light, you can either get, like, this is like a little rubber gasket that has adhesive on the back of it here. You could get this, or you could get like you can go to hardware stores and stuff. They have like a foam also, like a little foam tape. You could run a little bead of that around the opening to where when you slide it up there, that kind of helps seal it, kind of like the stuff on your car door. But if it's wider than the machine, short of 3D printing or bending the acrylic, because I think that machine, the cover is basically a 3-sided acrylic piece that slides up there. If it's the same as the iCube I had.
Yeah, the Ultra is kind of a molded piece that I don't know how you'd be able to adjust it. If it was just a flat piece, you could probably cut it down with the right.
You're gonna have to probably come up with some way of filling the gap, like with something like this, or the little. I thought I've got. Matter of fact, I've got some of it on my enclosure right here, but I can't show it to you because it's right here. But it's just a quarter by quarter by quarter little piece of foam with sticky stuff on it. It's really soft foam. This is a little stiffer. But I thought I had some of the foam over here, but I don't see it. Yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah, if it's wider, I don't know. I guess understanding more of the issue, some photos or something might help, but I might not be talking gasket material. I might be trying to actually get to shut right.
Oh, I don't think that one had hinges though, unless they changed it. Like I said, I don't have the iCube Pro. I don't think I had an iCube, but the one I had, the cover like literally just slid up there to it. Like it didn't attach to the machine. But
yeah, see, this one it's molded and it slides on.
Yeah, that one's a little fancier than the one that I had.
So this either fits or it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean that there's not any room for gasket material in that one. Yeah, maybe they set the wrong lens, or I mean, maybe it got hot and bent or something. No way of knowing. Tim says, I just got a Reno 65 Pro. They sent a roller with it. Lightburn is not showing a rotary tool. What did I do wrong? You want to show him where that switch is, Steve?
See if I can get things open.
Or do you want me to do it? There's a switch in Lightburn software, Tim, that you have to enable the rotary on the settings. And when you do, it'll actually give you the option to set it up. If you don't click that switch, then you won't have any of the rotary tools or anything like that. But it's a simple little just click of a switch to get it to show up.
So this is latest version. You're going to have your rotary tool up here. And then you need to go through. That one's probably a roller rotary.
Yeah, I think he's saying that that's not showing up, which means it's.
Okay. It should be here on the older version. Otherwise, if you go into window, see, this version is different. Depends on what version he's using.
Did they move the switch that was on the device settings that turns the rotary off completely, like the rotary settings?
Good question, because I haven't looked at that in here because that other button's up there.
Yeah, I haven't either. I was just kind of curious.
But the latest version, it should be up here. It's kind of on by default as far as I understand.
Yeah, I don't see where you can turn it off now. Job check. Yeah.
Otherwise, under laser tools in this version, they do have rotary setup or Control Shift R.
Yeah, it could just be hid on the view.
So that's what you're looking for, and then you do need to go through and enable the rotary. On that one, you probably have to change it to the roller, and then you're going to need to. They should have provided you with the steps per rotation or the millimeters per rotation. You got to change that. You got to tell it which axis it's plugged into. Usually that's a lot of times if you're unplugging it from the stepper, or sometimes on the controller, it replaces the Y, but I haven't played with that. They didn't send one with the 45. It does have that port in there that you plug it into. So, but then also you need to make sure you put in the all these specs, roller diameter, and then the circumference of your object. So
yeah,
the diameter.
The rollers can be a little more complicated to me than the chucks because there's more data that has to be put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the older version to go through that, but you should see that either up in that just off the top menu bar. Otherwise, look under laser tools for the rotary setup.
What's up, Valley Forged? Eric, how are you, sir? When's the 200-watt diode coming out? He said. Well, we would tell you, but we can't. We had to sign an NDA on that. No, not really. I'm just messing with you. I don't know that we're quite ready for a 200-watt yet.
Jason had a good tip here too. If you go to settings under your edit menu, go into display, that's where they have it. Show rotary enable on main window.
Okay, yeah, that's the switch I was talking about. I couldn't remember where the heck it was at in the new version.
All right.
Wick Central says, congratulations on retirement. I hope your hobbies end up being income than work. Hey, I enjoy being out here. I enjoy what I do out here and love it. And so I think I'm going to be okay. Like I said, if I'm not, my wife's done told me I've already passed qualifications for small household appliance repair guy. So, I mean, I may have to not wear a belt to have the adequate profile as I'm working on a washing machine, but hey, I can pull it off. We'll see. Well, Mark, last year, I think it was like a year or two ago. I wish I need to go back and find it when I said I felt like we would have, they'd be stacking them up to 100 before it was over. And it wasn't probably 2 or 3 months later that me and Steve got a call from Atomstack saying, hey, we want to talk to you about something, but you can't tell nobody.
Yeah. Radu's got a huge problem. I feel for you. Bakery doesn't make Bavarian cream filled anymore. What do you do?
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what Bavarian cream filled donut is? Oh, man.
I don't eat a lot of sweets.
And you eat chicken livers.
Yeah, but I don't eat sweets.
I mean, I don't eat them often, but I know what a Bavarian cream donut or Bismarck or roll or whatever it is. I mean, come on. Yeah, you got to find new bakery. You got to hit and see that's I try not to eat a whole lot of sweets either. But when I'm on vacation, and we're going places, I like to find like the small town cafe and get like a good, get a good cup of coffee and like a good caramel roll. That's like my vacation treat is to find one of those, or a good coffee shop, one of the
I don't know that I've ever been into a bakery, like a bakery quote.
Maybe that's the thing. I mean, if you ever come up here, we got bakeries and such up
well,
there.
I was told, my wife, Brandy, has told me we've got to come up there and visit with you after I retire. And I told her, I was like, that's fine. But if we get snowed in up there, it's not going to be fun. But I do have all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or whatever. So hopefully I can at least get back south. So we'll see. Jeffrey Lapierre said, I've been retired for 3 years or so, picked up laser as a hobby, then decided I needed to make money to support my hobby. I started out doing it because I was just bored and enjoyed doing woodworking and lasers and stuff. And then it just started growing and growing and growing. And then accidentally I ended up with a YouTube channel and stuff because I was doing Facebook as a way to market my business. And then that kind of sprung over into doing YouTube videos because I was in Facebook groups and people would be like, well, hey man, how'd you make that? And so I'm like, well, I would show you, but I don't know how to do that. So I just record it, and send a link. And that's how I wound up with a YouTube channel. It wasn't that I woke up one morning and it was like, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel. It just kind of happened. But I enjoy it. That's the cool thing is I guess the good Lord knew that I needed it. And it helped. Look at there. Look, Brandy would be happy and proud. Go ahead. I'll let you read that one, Steve. They'll think I'm biased.
I'm not seeing it right now. So
it says to help local makers Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, I thought you said it was a comment from her. Yeah. No,
yeah, my wife works for our local Chamber of Commerce, and so she kind of helps me get in with some of these other businesses too. I'm not gonna lie, but I do a lot of donations, like these things I'm making right here, like these, $65 a board I paid for the material. All right, I'm donating these to a barbecue cook-off that a nonprofit. It's actually our Baptist Association, and if you're familiar with the South, Baptist is like everybody basically, except for a few Methodists and Church of God folks and stuff. But anyway, so I'm donating these. I didn't charge them anything, but there's that on the back of it.
Click on it. You're on it.
That's one of the ways that I get people to go, wow, this is cool. I need something like that made for my business. Let me call this guy. That's barcodes on the back of it. So that's one more way. No, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so it's great that the Chamber of Commerce does that. Here, the Makerspace holds, like I said, quarterly kind of maker markets, and of course, they give first dibs to their members, but they do open it up to non-members. But there's also another group that started in the mall here. They took one of the empty spots and have kind of created one of those consignment maker shops as well. So, those can be good ways to, get some stuff going, get your product out there, create some maybe local items and work with another organization. They are going to want a cut of it, of course, usually to cover their costs and such. But that, if you're trying to build up a local retail business, sometimes, you just got to work with another business, give them a cut of your profits just to get your stuff out there. Great when a city or a organization creates an area like this, but you don't be afraid to approach other areas. Those smaller kind of niche stores or the non-chain coffee shop, bakeries, things like that. A lot of them don't mind having, that, make it easy for them. Put it on like a little portable display they can put somewhere and just see how it might go.
Yeah, I've just now got to this comment. Wick Central said he likes my the combining the different tools or whatever is exactly what he'd like to do. Said he does a lot of designing his own parts, mostly do PC sim rig things and RC car parts mostly.
Very cool.
But yeah. And ATB said, I would like to talk to you about the crystals and the LED color changing in the wooden frame behind you. That is actually a mirror that I engraved with lasers and painted each layer as I engraved it. That's actually one of my most viewed videos on YouTube. But it's got LEDs in it. It's just a mirror, a cheap 12 by 12 mirror pane, some layered plywood for a frame, and some like $9.99 lights off Amazon. So, but it's cool, the things that you can make. Kevin, if I could get a 3D scan of his head, I would put him in a crystal. But I can't get it. I actually did try to find a 3D scan of a Bigfoot and put his face on it, but I'm not that good in mesh mixer, so I messed it up.
Yeah. Mark's got a good point. Another question to ask yourself is whether you enjoy making the same thing over and over.
It does get old until you think about the fact that thing pays your power bill.
Yep. Yeah. You gotta, it's a double-edged sword. It's great to have a product that kind of constantly brings in money, but after a while, when you're doing the same thing, it's basically, you're like, well, I'm working a small factory in my shop. So
yeah, well, it's not that. I mean, I hate it. Like, I hate it. It just messes with my creative juices, but it's a necessary evil.
Yep.
But when you start going back and looking and you see that this one customer with this one product has brought like $15,000, $20,000 into your shop and helped pay your bills for the year, it's like, okay, that I'm able to run my air conditioner because they buy these things for me every month and give me enough money to pay my power bill. That's where you start looking at it and going, you know what, making these things sucks, but the other, like, I don't know, 25 days of the month when you're not working on those things, it's cool to have that extra money to pay for your software and pay for your power bill and stuff.
Mark's asking, what would be the direction to look towards the future when my Rolly goes kaput? Definitely want to stay in that basic price range. CO2 prices are dropping and diodes are on steroids now. Well, first off, that could be a while. If you're keeping it well maintained, keeping the module clean, keeping your lens covers, from getting gunked up and breaking. They say those diode modules are good for 10,000 hours. Now, whether they last that long or not, whether they can maintain their full power that long or not, I don't know. I don't know that any of us are going to drive one that much. And if we do, hopefully we're making money off it and you're building in your replacement costs. So yeah, I would say you're easily, barring needing a different feature or needing more power, you're easily a few years out from having to worry about that. So it's, but as far as what's out there, I mean, I would definitely keep an eye on both the mainstays. I mean, Xtool, Atomstack, Sculpt Fun, Longer. They've been around a while. They're probably not going anywhere. They've got their fingers in multiple things. But also keep an eye on some of the newcomers. Cell Laser with they're still doing that gantry galvo mix. You got Alien Cell that is kind of coming out with, they've got their custom board that's, it's not necessarily GRBL based. It's got some more of the standalone stuff. Might be something to look at, but any of those newer ones, unless you're willing to just, you got the money and you like to play, I'd kind of hold off and see where things land with them. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's too early unless you're itching for something else to be worried about that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few machines. If like tomorrow it died and you had to have another one, first of all, there's enough of them out there right now and replacement parts here and there. I think you'd be okay for a little while. It's a matter of time, but because if there becomes a market, like say for parts for that machine or upgrades, like let's say the module does go bad, well, somebody out there will see that, hey, there's a market for this, and they'll in their garage come up with a way. I know there's a couple of folks that make parts for the Xtool D1 that you can buy parts today if something happens to yours, but they're aftermarket parts. So if the machine, like if there's enough of a demand, somebody will step up and fill that demand. But secondly, like I said, there are companies out there that if you did lose your machine and like had to get another one, Atomstack to me is probably the closest competitor right now to Rolly as far as quality. My dealings with their support and stuff like that as far as diode lasers. There are others out there, but Atomstack's been really good, and they've got the Craft, and they've got the A40, A48, whatever that thing is. It's like the A24, but it's like a 48 watt module now. And then you have Asmer, who has the P3, which the P3 is an awesome machine. It's very similar to the Lasermatic, but it's not quite as sturdy as far as the enclosure, but as far as functionality, it functions just as well, in my opinion. It has all the same things as does the Rolly. So I think there's options out there. But like Steve said, if you take care of it, keep it clean, do your maintenance, it should last you until you fall in love with the latest and greatest and decide to upgrade.
Yeah. Not Board Woodworking said their Airbnb was hosted by Mennonites and they forced 2 large homemade cinnamon rolls on us. Man, that's the kind of torture you hate to wake up to.
Yeah.
Brian says if you come up, you won't get snowed in if you come in the month of July. Any other month, there is always a chance.
That's terrible.
Probably going to feel at home if he comes up here in July, hot and humid. Let's see here. Try to get caught up again.
Yeah, not bored. It is definitely big enough. I checked it. If you watch my video of me making those things, I actually quality control tested each QR code to make sure it was scannable before after I finished them with the poly. So yeah, hey, you can never make your mark too big. Like I said, they're not paying for these things. So I had complete control to do what I wanted to the backside of them. The guy that organizes the event is very happy because if not, he'd be paying about $40 a piece for these things. And instead, he's getting them for free. And 40 times 12, that's a pretty good little check, little donation. And usually all I get is, I think last year I got 4 t-shirts, one for each of my family members, and a shout out at the event, and some Facebook posts and stuff like that, which is fine. That's what I do it for. It's a good cause.
Mark's asking, have either of you heard of composite nailers? They drive a composite brad nail instead of metal. Looks to be useful for CNC work holding. Don't have to worry about hitting a nail with the tool. Yeah, I've seen people use that as part of their hold down methods with CNCs. As long as you aren't needing, I mean, they're pretty good. They provide a lot of holding power, both, from side to side movement. And also they should, if you get them in, maybe, especially if you put a few in at just a slight angle, they'll also help hold it down. Depending on the job I'm doing, I like to have maybe multiple methods because you got to worry about the bit pulling the material up as well as things moving them around. So it's always nice having a variety of tools in your arsenal of hold down methods with those. And I haven't tried that one myself though.
I've used regular brads.
Yeah. And a lot of the bits, they'll still kind of go through them.
Well, what I was doing, it was one of those jobs to where I couldn't, there just wasn't any way. Like I think it was a 4-foot sheet of plywood, and I didn't have a way because of the way it was in the design. So I had just very, very small margin of error. So I shot the brads in it. But what I did before I shot the brads in it was I set my machine up basically to ghost run it with the spindle off and raised above the material and just kind of framed with the machine. And then I placed a few little staples strategically in the workbed to avoid the CNC. The only thing that I didn't like about it was afterwards I had like little bumps where they went in at it. Like it had raised spots in the MDF on my machine. And so after I got through that job, I ended up running me like a 1,000th flattening pass on it just to knock those down, because it was a couple of them. You could lay a piece of material on there and you could feel it like rock just a little bit. So
Quick Central says, I use 3D printing to create things for a yearly food drive on bicycles called Cranksgiving. My last year's project helped raise over 1,800 and over 600 pounds of food. And that's a great way to even just get some exposure. I mean, obviously do it for the charitable works, but also, people see that work and, maybe have a couple other examples of what you can do, or definitely at least put your socials or your, whatever to point back to, because people might go, hey, I'd love to buy another one of these or something like that. So I'm a big proponent of doing, charity type things, but in a nice, appropriate way, maybe using it to just get the word out about your work and what you do.
Yep. Well, they came to me on the barbecue and said, if you'll do this, we'll do that. So,
yeah, and I think a lot of places too, I mean, they're like, hey, for some exposure, you want to help support this event. And I always try to go into it as I want to support the event. And if I get some exposure, that's great. Having a little bit of that kind of, just a little more empathetic attitude. So
yeah, Valley Forged, Eric says he loves his craft. Should have the 40 watt soon. Only downside is a bit pricey, but has some better features than the Rolly. It has a few things that the Rolly doesn't have. I'll give it that. The only thing is you'll have to fashion your own way of indexing the honeycomb. That's the only, unless they've changed it, which they may have, because I did criticize them about that. But that's the only thing that Rolly has that I would say that Craft doesn't, is the honeycomb, and the rotary aren't necessarily indexed. You have to take measures to do that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ATB Marketing. Appreciate the sticker there.
Chris says he did a QR code that displayed a message saying, if I wanted, I could have just loaded a virus on your device. And that's very true. With QR codes, they are a nice method to get get someone a link and whatnot. But definitely when you're scanning them yourself, know where it's from and what it's pointing you to. You can definitely, I mean, I see them at our campus. People put like, oh, I have this survey for this study. I'm like, I'm not scanning that. I don't know who put that up there.
Yeah. Chris said Ryan just 3D printed a QR code 450 by 450. Yeah, I saw that in their live last night. It was black and white. Big one. It's like you could scan it from across the street.
Yeah. Yep. So Jerry's comment is, I think if a quality company could come up with a laser with a diode and CO2, it would sell like crazy. You'd have the best of both worlds. What are your thoughts on that?
I would love if they had it to where if you have one machine, and let's say you could either have just blue diode, you could have CO2, you could have a UV, you could just change the source out on it and have it operate using a fiber optic cable, kind of like these guys do, but be kind of like a CO2, but without the mirrors. You know what I mean? To where the source is in the back, and then that way you get a lighter weight head that can move faster. I think that would be a great innovation, but I'm sure there's some limitations with using fiber optics for certain wavelengths, probably. I don't know the science about it, but I do think that would be awesome. Like where you could literally just go in the back of the machine and you had like a fiber optic coupler that you could literally just uncouple one source and another one would couple right into it, and you could go right back to work, not have to align anything. It would just be going from a blue to a CO2 to a fiber to a UV, just have whatever source and have a fiber optic cable ran just like you would the water lines for the water cooled ones, and be able to order it with, it's the same machine, whether you order a CO2 source or a blue diode source or whatever. And if you really want to get freaky with it, they could come up with a cylinder, kind of like a revolver pistol, to where you had the 4 different sources and it would revolve. Basically, each fiber optic cable would rotate and it would, breach the blue or the CO2 or the fiber or whatever. So simply by rotating this revolver cylinder type thing, it would change the laser that was being directed through the fiber optic cable down onto the material. That, if Clackshack could build a laser, is how I would want to build a laser, to where you could just tell it, okay, CO2, fiber, blue, whatever. And if you didn't, like if you wanted to buy the machine, but you only wanted one source, then you wouldn't have to buy the coupler device and you wouldn't have to buy but one source. But if you wanted multiple sources, then you would buy the coupler and buy the sources and stack them in there. Now, that would be an engineering feat, but it would be awesome.
I think it would be interesting to see if it could be done. I don't know that it is practical or cost effective. And I feel like too many of the other, you're not going to use a gantry style laser to do the crystal engravings with a raising Z axis.
No, but you could use a UV to do like larger plastics or larger, like that. What is that stuff that everybody PHP or PHP or whatever they're using on CO2s on CNCs now? So you could UV, CO2. I think that now it would probably the science would probably make it very expensive. But
yeah, I just feel it's not practical, and I don't know. Anytime I've had a multi-source machine, it's usually 90% locked into the one type, or it's just more viable to have dedicated machines. Also you're looking at productivity. If you're looking at it from a business standpoint, having all your sources tied up in one device limits how many things you can work on. So I think it would be interesting to see it actually function. I just don't see it being practical.
Yeah, like the only thing that I can come up with is, especially like in some of these, if you wanted a very specialized machine and you had very limited space you now have like 4 machines in one. So if you're in, somewhere to where you just don't have the room for it, I think the evolution of it it'll eventually get that way. And it may be one of those things that is kind of like some of the other machines right now that are so expensive and so niche, Epilogue, that only those that are really, really serious buy them because they're just so darn expensive. I mean, not that it's a bad product. It's just so expensive that it's not in most people's budget. Because like with me, there's no way I'm paying $40,000 for a laser. It's not.
Well,
but there are people that do it every single day. They do it. So,
and kind of like what Chris alluded to is that when you're trying to combine the functions of many sources or tooling or whatever into one machine, you're usually losing out somewhere, whether it's on speed, effectiveness, or capabilities, or extra maintenance or whatnot. It's just, I think it's a very case by case use where that it would be a tough sell to engineer and market to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, no, it's not going to be like it's not going to be like a toaster. No way. I mean, it's not going to be a toaster. But I'm just saying, if you told me, hey, design a laser for your shop, and you have like just anything you can come up with, we're going to design it. That is, I think that is how I would like for it to be, because it would be versatile. Now, if you're trying to turn out thousands of pieces, one machine that can do 4 things is not as good as 4 machines that can do one thing. Just like today and yesterday, I had a CNC going over there cutting out the blanks. I'm over here manually sanding the blanks. I got this machine engraving the front. I got this machine engraving the back. And then I'm sanding them again, taking them out front and spraying them and letting them dry. So I had, in that case, having one machine that can do 4 things is no good to me. Yeah. But if you're a, very specialized place that does very specialized stuff, then I could see, some people might pay that just to where they don't have to have a room full of machines, But
if you're a very specialized place doing specialized stuff, I hope you're earning a very special price for it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because I know people that have Epilogues. They buy the Epilogue machines, but me and you aren't going to go buy an Epilogue when we can do the same thing with a lesser machine, even though, it's just, you're just not going to do it. But I do know people that, matter of fact, one of their sales guys told me that if you're not willing to spend the money on the Epilogue, you're not serious about laser engraving. And I was like, I'll never buy one of those. You just made me a never Epiloguer, because when he told me that on the phone, because I was actually pricing the machine for my buddy Tim, who had an Epilogue. And I'm like, whoo, that's kind of steep. And when that guy told me, if you're not willing to pay that, you're not serious about laser engraving, I was like, okay, thank you for your time. Yeah. Let me call Thunder. And then we called Thunder and ordered the machine.
Yep. Yeah. Having too big of an ego is a turnoff for me. I'll take my business elsewhere.
Yeah.
Ryan, as you've noted, it's now actually 6-9, and anyone who knows anything about Vikings knows they do not play all 4 quarters, so I'm not worried yet. And also, how did Washington do the other night? I forget.
I don't know. I don't watch football.
Well, he probably knows.
I'm too busy watching Steve. I was sitting in here today trying to get some work done, and Steve was over here talking about his lasers and stuff.
Mike's asking, what's your alternative to Surmark spray? I bought a 2.0 can, and it's legit stuff, but expensive.
It is expensive.
I don't have an alternative. I mean, I've also used Brilliance, and I need to test like the Monport and the X tool. They're all very similar and have a slightly different price point, but they're all pretty close. The thing is, you're getting consistency. It's easy to use, and a little bit goes a long way. So you just got to factor it into the cost of your project. I don't really care for a lot of the alternatives. Yeah, you can do stainless steel raw, but it's kind of that brownish black tint to it. I don't like using chemicals that I need to use another chemical to clean off, or something that's going to possibly create more noxious fumes. Whether I'm venting it or not, someone's going to deal with them. So I just stick with it, but I factored into the price of what I'm doing. Because it is, like I say, once you get it dialed in, it's just consistent. And I've got mugs that or stainless steel cups that I marked with my CO2 like 9 years ago that have held up to a lot of hand washing and dishwashing. So
yeah,
I trust the stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, for the most part, the generic brands are the similar formula. I mean, it all revolves around titanium dioxide and some kind of binder that they put in there or whatever. If you want to try to get it cheaper, if you'll shop around between Omtech, Monport, Brilliance, and just see which one's on sale and which one got the better price. But at the end of the day, I've used Surmark. I've tried other stuff. I've tried the airbrush approach. I've tried the painted on. I've tried the films. I've tried spray paint. I've tried most everything. And when you start messing up blanks, experimenting or trying something else, and you realize that the money you spent messing up blanks, you could have bought a bottle of Surmark for, you'll be like, all right, let me get some Surmark, because that's what happened with me. I started, cracking glasses or busting glass, or just having like half of the engrave would stay and half of it would come off, or either I had brush lines, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just sticking with Surmark because it works. It is expensive, but once you learn how to apply it and use only what is needed, it goes a long way. So.
Yeah, and that's one of those things I put on like my Amazon shopping list. And when their Prime Day deals and Black Friday deals, whatever come up, that's the time to like look at, okay, what are some of the consumables or maybe the blanks that I want to have on hand, whether it's from them or other companies. That's a good time to stock up, and grab them at a little bit of a discount. So
yeah, because that's $100 bill right there. And this one's about half full. But like I said, it's you kind of like what you said. You got to work it into your price, and you will. It's a little bit of sticker shock when you buy it, but in the long run, it'll benefit you.
This is one I have out here. I've had pretty good luck with the Brilliant stuff as well. Here's another QR code if you want to just randomly scan it. But yeah, it's one of those buy it, cry, and then just be happy it works for me anyway.
Yep. Jerry says, in the winter, do you find that the air, that the intake, cold air coming into your enclosure causes precipitation problems for you? I really like that option, but wondering about precipitation. I haven't had any problems here with my setup, with my situation. I keep in mind, I'm 500 and something feet in elevation. So like at night, in the afternoons, when, the clouds settle, so to speak, and the moisture comes down, there's a valley all around me. So it's not like I'm in a valley to where I've got like fog hanging in my, even with my shop, it's all the fog's down below me. So I haven't had any issues and it doesn't really get too cold here. Generally, it's not like Steve's place where it gets down to 50 below or anything. Now there's times where, it like I would rather do that than have it pull cold air in here at times. But I haven't seen any issues with it so far. I have more problems with water getting into my air assist air compressor than I do that so far.
But that is definitely something in cold air environments to consider, especially with CO2 machines. Condensation can cause arcing, can cause all sorts of issues with it. So definitely best to let your machine and equipment come up to temp and hopefully not shock it with too much of a temperature differential between the air and its operating stuff. So
yeah, we said $100. I had no idea. Yeah, I think that's about what that bottle's going. That's the big bottle. Let's see what it's going for at the moment. I haven't bought any in a while. Like I said, I bought it. It's kind of like Steve said. If you ever get one of those pop up from Amazon saying that,
12-ounce bottle is $100.
Yeah.
See, and that's where like Omtech has their 13-ounce one for $40. I need to find the time to do some comparison on, try to use the same piece of metal and the two different sprays on the same laser and just put it through some torture test, I guess. But because there is a a difference between Cermak and others. I mean, Cermak's been around for a long time. I think they thought their stuff was gold for a while until other people started making it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. X-Tool has their brand, Ohmtech, Monport, Cermak, Brilliance. There's a number of them out there to try out.
And application is key. I mean, you want to clean the surface really good before you put it on there. You want to make sure you put it on there in an even coat, thick enough to do the job, but not too thick. I mean, if even Cermak, if you put it on too thick or if you put it on too thin, you're not going to get the desired effect. It takes some practice. My recommendation is when you get you some Cermak and you want to practice with it, stop by the Dollar Tree and buy you a couple of those really cheap picture frames, because those things actually work really well with lasers, and you can try with the marker spray, without marker spray, whatever you want to do, and do some pretty cool stuff. But that's what I did. I use a bunch of old picture frames and old glass to practice with.
Yep. Greg's wondering if I added any new glues to my collection.
I'm sure he has. He's just not going to tell you.
I'm trying to think of if I've used anything new recently. I don't think I have. It's not since the what's the last one I showed using Weldon or acrylic, I think. But I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Definitely good to use the right adhesive for the right job.
There's you one that I have no input for that one. I ain't never seen 10 degrees below.
So I have the advantage of a couple different spaces I can work in. And so I have the shop here, which is a standalone building. I do have power run out here, obviously, but I don't have natural gas plumbed in. I do have a standalone heater that does it does a pretty good job to keep things warm enough. And interestingly enough is that when you get into winter here in the workshop, if I get above 65, I start getting too warm. So I try to get it above that 60 degree where wood glues will work nice, but not get it too warm in here. Now, of course, if I'm exhausting air out, I'm having to replace it. So it does bring in some air, but kind of just keeping I keep it at a higher temp than, I don't let it get down to freezing in here. So you kind of have that natural mass of heat that doesn't cool. It doesn't just instantly drop down to 0 degrees. And my air inlet is not right by my laser. So by the time it kind of gets to where it's pulling it in the air, it's kind of evened out a bit. So now the first year I had this shop built, it was more of a garage and cars were parked in here and snow would melt. And that's when I found out it was a little too sealed. And that's where I was having more of a moisture issue in here. But now when it gets super cold, I generally will try not to do big jobs that I have to exhaust a lot of air out of here, because it just costs a lot more to keep things conditioned up here. If I can, I will run it out of my basement. I have an older home. It is not sealed as well as newer homes, which is actually kind of good because, air gets circulated. But there it's, I've got my main furnace running. I don't see as much of a drop, and, we just normally have some air circulating in and out of the house no matter what. So I don't see too much of an issue with that, because it's not I don't have just one solid inlet bringing in a mass of cold air. It's seeping in from all the cracks and crevices around windows and doors and such. But definitely something to be concerned about.
You see this comment right here?
Yeah. They're not wrong, but
we have been trying to get Steve a mini split for about a year now, which I think mine either I don't know if it's what's going on, but mine says it's 76.8 in here, but it's 36% humidity right now inside the shop. I have bumped mine up to 72 because the other night I was in here and my feet were getting cold. But but my mini split runs all the time and it is nice. Now it costs me about $6 a day to run my air conditioner all the time. But considering that this building is very drafty, I think that's pretty good, all things considered. And it makes things a lot more comfortable and it keeps the moisture down. Like I said, I'm at 36% in Alabama, and that's almost unheard of here where I'm at. So it's very the mini split has multiple benefits. It not only does it heat and cool, but it also dehumidifies, which is a good thing.
And that's the part I need it more for in summer, is if it can keep the humidity in check. I think there was maybe one time I came out here and it was hitting 80.
But you were whining about it. It was like it
was also like in the 70s for humidity because we were just getting dumped on with rain. So it was uncomfortable because it's just, you don't have air moving in here, and if I open up things, it's going to get even warmer. So,
if you ain't got no air moving at all, it'll get muggy quick.
So yeah, it's more for just a little bit of cooling, but mostly for dehumidification, and it would add some heating down to some temps. And that's part of my problem is a lot of the kind of self-install ones find a nice average. Whereas if I want one of the dedicated northern climate ones, I believe Mr. Cool said when we talked with them at CES, they were coming out with one this year. I just haven't, I don't have I don't have the space set up to even put it on the wall right now or the area outside. It's just,
wasn't there going to be some electrical needs as well?
Yeah, I mean, where I would put it, it's pretty close to the panel anyway, and
yeah,
I wired this whole garage. I have a couple friends who are electricians. That's not, other than paying for copper these days, I'm pretty sure for that 5-foot run of cable, I'd probably have to be taking out a mortgage. But no, it's not impossible. It's a lot of logistics to do, and this just hasn't been the year for a lot of things for me.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. See you, Brian. We're gonna stay on him about his heating and cooling up there. Robbie says Steve gets all the toys except for a mini split. It's true.
Yeah.
Mr. Yuffie.
Yeah.
What's up, Ballard? Says in my shop I also use horizontal surface. Which, mercy. Some call floor for storage. Yeah, I don't have enough floor space left. Like I've went vertical, horizontal. Like I'm about full. I can't expand any further.
So this is the original question from that. Do I have any horizontal space in that shop? Mm-hmm. Yes, but I have got the Glacier on my assembly table right now. And that's the thing that I usually move around to do certain things on. So sure, I could put something here, but then I'd have trouble. Like this right now is blocking my table saw. It's in the way because I have had to move things around for some of the recent stuff. What I really wish I had is I wish I had space for a wood shed, so that I could get a lot of that out of here. I just don't have anywhere to store it besides. I mean, I could go pay to rent a storage unit, but then why would I even have this stuff? Because then I would just be paying more and more for it every month that I'm not using it. So yeah, that's needs to be well, some of the projects need to happen. Some of the projects are no longer in the works, and it's just there for material for the future. But yeah, it vertical space. I don't even have a whole lot of that anymore.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, if I could attach it to the ceiling, even though I
don't think you can attach a mini split to the ceiling because it has to drain. Like the water has to drain out of it. That wouldn't work. You'd have to build like a little mini wall, like a half wall to mount it to.
Let's see, I'm not showing anything I shouldn't, should I? Oh, there we go. Focus. Yeah. See, my ceiling gets filled with airplanes and such up in the corners of things. So there's not a lot of extra.
Robbie said you could build a wood shop with all the wood.
The problem is, living in the city, you gotta play by the city rules. I cannot put any more non-permeable coverage on my lot. So anything I put out there has to be temporary. So I have to look into what sort of shed.
If it was on stilts, would that count?
Well, I think it's more of like what kind of foundation it has. So I think if it's like maybe if it's like one of those Rubbermaid sheds, or maybe even like a wooden shed that's is small enough to not require foundation, maybe. But yeah, it's basically they're like you can't build anymore on your. I can't even put like.
So what you saying is you're gonna have to start on the second floor to Ventari's workshop.
Well, if I would, when I built this, I wasn't even planning on this expense. If I would have had the forethought to put in the foundation and the footers to support a second story on here, sure, maybe. But
saying it ain't up to code for that.
No, I'd have to tear the whole thing down and put more than the slab and the stuff I've got there. So.
Well, Ballard is saying
I do have an enclosed trailer. It's filled with other things.
Ballard's saying that Mr. Cool has a ceiling mount one.
They do,
That'd
but
be cool.
Then you still have to.
Well, maybe since you have a shop in your basement and you have a office and then you have a shop outside, maybe you just do you have a keeping problem? Is it not a space problem but a keeping problem? Maybe you just keeping too much stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, the problem is I can't move a table saw.
Yeah, that's not going to.
I could, but it would either break me or something moving a table saw into the base. I mean, that's the problem is some of the more traditional woodworking things. So, but yeah, I mean, I do know people who have stored and dried lumber in their basements up here.
Yeah. Well, you can put it in your attic. You have an attic in your shop right there?
No, not anything that's workable for storing large wood.
Well, sounds like you just need to get to building some stuff.
No, I'm not a candidate for hoarders.
Jerry said you can get you a Rubbermaid shed.
I used to have one. I kind of wish I actually sold it right before building this, and I really wish I would have hung on to it because it would have made for a great even for putting like the lawnmower and snowblower, yard tools in. Because I mean, that's the other thing is I have out here is I have some of my toys. We've gotten rid of most bikes. We're down to one bike, but it's not just 100% shop is the
yeah. Thing. Oh, I'm out of space too. Like I've got right now, I've got a kiln to where I can keep my wood and stuff dry. There's a dehumidifier in there. It's the building when I built it out of wood that I cut on the sawmill. But when I built it, I wrapped it in like 6-7 mil, like a real thick plastic before I put the inside boards on it. So that thing is insulated, plus it's wrapped in that thick mil plastic. And it's got a dehumidifier sitting in there that I keep running. So, my wood and stuff stays at like 7% moisture content. But here lately, I've been so crowded in here, it's became like storage for other stuff too. Like that's where, like if I got a box that I have to keep that I can't throw away for a little while or something, that's where the box ends up until it gets in the way. And then I take a box cutter and dispose of it. But I'm out of room. Like me and Brandy are starting to use my old dog kennel because it's got a roof on it. Where it's out here, the little dog kennel. We've started using it for storage for stuff because I don't have anywhere else. The shop that's over the top of my sawmill, I've got crates that these machines come in up there. I mean, and I don't want to get rid of the crates because I can use those to store things in. And so I've moved all of my sawmill stuff, my blade sharpener, my chainsaws, all of my sawmill stuff is in the little shop up there at the sawmill. So I am out of space. My living room, my little office space in the living room is all the way around to where the Christmas tree goes, and we're gonna have to approach that here in a few months.
Yeah. Don's asking, was wondering, do you guys think a Galvo fiber MOPA with a UV combo would be possible, or too price prohibitive for any company to make? I think that the issue with combining UV with anything right now is the UV lasers require so much cooling that their source takes up a lot more space than typically any other type of laser. And so, yeah, I think it's possible, but I think you would have such a large, either like a base, or you'd have multiple, source boxes or something. It would be a pretty big accessory to the actual head of the laser that they work through.
You're getting back into that. Okay, now we need to water cool it realm. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think that's a bad idea now, but
yeah, I mean, just the fact they would cut down on the noise of these things.
Yeah. I mean, if they told me, hey, we're gonna upgrade the Omni X to be water cooled, and you're just gonna have a chiller sitting over here in the floor, that wouldn't be a bad upgrade. Because those 4 fans can really stir up some noise.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave, I have a pole barn actually built onto the back of the shop, because right where I'm sitting right now is where my tractor used to park. But when I got ready to make this a shop, I boxed it in and I built me another 20-foot lean-to off the back. And from where I'm sitting, I got junk. Then I got my RTV and my riding lawnmower. And then on the other side of that, I got my tractor, because the tractor with the bush hog on it and the front end loader, it's almost 20 foot from tip to tip. And then I've got my sawmill shop up there, which is 20 by 25, I think it is. But it's got a sawmill under part of it, and then lumber stacked under the rest of it with tools and stuff. So and then I got my kiln. That's the only 3 outbuildings I have, but I got too much junk. I do have a keeping problem. I keep too much stuff. But I've gotten better at getting rid of things. But some of the stuff, especially like these machines, I mean, they send the machine and you would think, oh, you just do a couple videos and then it can disappear. That's not always the case, because they want you to, okay, we're going to come out with this peripheral. And then 2 months later, we're going to have this peripheral. And then 2 months later, we're going to have this peripheral. And so you end up having to long-term store these things in their original configuration, which can sometimes present challenges.
Yeah.
So.
Radu is asking, what are your thoughts on using powder titanium dioxide, either mixed with CMC powder? Some use this to mix, others don't. Makes it stick better. I've seen it for white tiles. And yeah, it's definitely something to play with. I think if you're doing it occasionally or just like to play, sure. I think if you're trying to have consistency and push out product, I mean, I think this is the way it goes. Is it a hobby and fun thing, or is it a commercial business where you need time is money and consistency is key? Because anytime you're doing your own mixture stuff, there's always the risk of, mixing it up wrong or having a bad batch. I mean, technically, yes, on a
and then you got to come up
spray, you can get bad. But
then you got to come up with an application method too.
Yeah. So it's doable, but it's one of those, do you have more time or do you have more money? Or are you going to make money with it versus the time you're going to spend with it?
Yeah.
That's, definitely a viable option, but just there's a trade-off.
Yep.
Greg, you're not wrong. I probably do need to sell, donate, loan out, put up for adoption, a number of things, but working on it. Part of the problem is just like things like this glacier to come in, and it just takes up a lot of space, or even a lot of the lasers recently have been, enclosed models, which are great for safety, and it's a great direction to go to. But trying to keep that on hand, like Clack was saying, to be able to use it, maybe in comparison with the next version or with the accessory or the new module that comes out, it's easier to hang these open frame ones on the wall versus store a big enclosed boxy laser somewhere.
Yep. Elo, I get rid of them pretty quick. The ones that I can. We do lots of giveaways. I've got a meet and greet coming up. I'm gonna be taking some machines with me to the meet and greet in October, and we're gonna be having a raffle. So if you come to the meet and greet in October, I'll let you guys know what we're gonna be having. But there's some machines gonna be up for grabs because a lot of the stuff that I can't repackage and ship out, I've about gave to every school, nonprofit, crafter, disabled veteran, and everybody in my area that I can find. So I've been a lot of my machines. We've been having giveaways, and I've been shipping them out to folks. Matter of fact, was it Steve? I think it was Steve. I sent that one, the Pixel to Pixie to last week. So I get rid of them. It's just a lot of them you can't get rid of until they're through, like releasing all of the peripherals that go with it, and that's sometimes a pain.
Or disassembling and repackaging, or just
some of them. Some of them you just can't repackage.
Well, and some of them, the shipping is a bit prohibitive. So,
Greg says he'll take your Glacier.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we still have some peripherals coming out for it. We've got more testing to do. Nothing else. I mean, they are coming out with the enclosure to test with it as well. It is a very cool machine. I would love if it was in just a slightly shallower form factor and make it easier for me to use consistently and keep in the shop. I just don't know where I'm going to be able to keep a 4 foot by 5 foot 120 watt diode laser. So we'll see. But I've also been talking with the local makerspace about some things. They used to have a Glowforge. I know they have it sounds like they have an X-Tool P2 now as well. So I may reach out to them and say, hey, maybe I've got some equipment you could use, or maybe I can help them out with some in-person classes in exchange for, reduced membership or something. It's the thing where I don't need to go there necessarily to have access to the tools, but I want to have access to the people and kind of surrounding myself with similar creative types, working with them a little bit. I think that would be where the big value for me would be is.
I would love it if we had one of those.
Yeah.
If I ever hit the lottery, I will have one. But I'm going to need to hit the lottery first. Like, it's going to need to be a big lottery.
Yeah. Yep. But I've run up to the end of the comments, and we've gone over 2 hours now.
Yep, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Like I said, we had some good participation. But we don't want to keep going too god awful long because I'll be fell asleep first of all.
Yeah, you actually have to go back to work for like a couple more days.
Yeah, I've got 3 days this week because I'm having to take off Thursday and Friday, and then I got 3 days next week, and after that, I'll be setting my own schedule. So,
yep. Hello, comments. 3D printing seems on the brink of a break for commercial market. H2C, Bondtech, INDX, and Snapmaker's Tool Changer. I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I've been watching the H2C and the Snapmaker one. I haven't looked at the Bondtech yet. It is really cool to see that kind of innovation to help speed up the multicolor, reduce the waste of the multicolor, and just even seeing the leaps in 3D printing the past few years and just the straight up speed and quality has been really cool to watch. And now to add in, multicolor, multi-filament setups is going to be really fun to see.
Yeah. See, yeah, it amazes me that look how smooth that is. Like, and I did nothing other than I designed it in Fusion. I did design it, took it STL, exported it, sliced it, and hit print. And this, I mean, you can't even see lines in it or anything. And it amazes me. I battled for so long with my old 3D printer. Just to be able to do this amazes me. I can't wait to see what the newer ones do. I want an X1 carbon or a P1P so bad, but I got nowhere to put it. Like, the footprint of my A1 is all I have to spare. And I've got my AMS top mounted on my A1. And that's all the space I've got right now to dedicate to 3D printing. So, but yeah. Yeah, as soon as I make sure that this file is legit and I don't have any more issues or adjustments to make, I will be probably putting it, and probably some other versions of it as well, in my Etsy shop, because I plan on making like one version that has like steps going down it, maybe another one that has, like some lines going up it. I want to change and I want to have some variety in this. Now that I've got the base worked out, I can just take the STL and take the file in Fusion and modify it. Maybe even making a round one, now that I've got this one working. So we'll see.
So talking of evolution, that is the old printer bot that I built with my boys years ago, doing a 3D print.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That looks rough.
Oh, it was. Even just getting that first layer adhesion was rough,
That's when you had to have the glue stick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some 3M spray, a glue stick.
So yeah, things have come a long way.
Now, Jerry, I didn't want to waste the orange, so I used the white. Plus, I plan on painting this one. I'm going to paint this one with like some gold spray paint, some of the metallic gold spray paint, and white is the best color when you're painting because it's just easy to cover up. If I'd have used black, it would have took a lot more of the gold spray paint to get that gold shine and everything. But I've been using plenty of the orange. As you can see, I've outfitted my Omni X has been outfitted with its own lens cover, jack holder. I've got an extended tube that comes all the way up to the work area from the exhaust pipe now. I've been doing lots of 3D files for it as well. But anyways.
All right. Well, hour or 2 hours and 22 minutes. Sounds like a good spot to end.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody stopping by. It was fun. It's been a hoot. And somebody was asking a while ago, are we going to have a retirement party? My last day at work, I may actually come home and go live for a little while. I don't know. I'm not going to have like a party, party, but we may have one here. I'll have to get on Amazon and order like a disco ball to hang from the shop ceiling or something.
Cool. All right. Well, a couple more weeks before that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But
2 weeks.
Soon enough. So, all right, everyone. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being here for the live. Thanks for watching all our videos and liking and commenting on them. It all helps. And we will be back next week. Otherwise, keep an eye on both channels for more content coming. We'll see you in our shop soon.
Yes, sir. And if you hadn't, go check out Steve's latest video on the Glacier. And I did one where I show you guys how I round robin all these machines and made these little plaques back here. So till next time, be safe. Have a good one.